So we've gone through the 5 ethical theories, and we've talked about network communications. Today we're going to talk about big data, but just hang on a minute. I have to check a text message. Now, I'm sure most of you have smartphones like this, and there's a whole bunch of apps. I'm counting maybe 80, 90 apps that I have on my phone. You may have more, you may have less. But I do things on my phone like checking my email, checking my messages, check the weather. I do my banking, play games, do my shopping. And in fact, there's 3.8 billion smartphone users in the world, which covers 48.3% of the people. And there's 4.9 billion mobile devices, which covers 62%. But in the US, there's 79% smartphone penetration, which means that 260 out of 329 million people have smartphones. So let's take a look at some of those uses for those smartphones. So this graphic here will show you in 2020 what everybody does collectively every minute of the day. So 2020 was big on Zoom. So Zoom hosted 208,333 participants per minute. Instagram, 347,000 user posts. Twitter gained 319 users per minute. Facebook users shared 150,000 messages per minute. Spotify adds 28 tracks. Amazon ships over 6,000 packages per minute. Venmo users send $239,000 per minute. So what's going on with all of this? All of this is data that gets collected. And what we need to do as data scientists is to be able to identify that data and use it effectively. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But what is big data? According to Gartner, the definition of big data is high volume, velocity, and variety information assets that demand cost-effective, innovative forms of information processing for enhanced insight and decision-making. So everything that we've talked about on those apps, all that data is considered big data. So now we'll talk about different examples of big data in different industries. The first is we'll look at education. So the University of Alabama has more than 38,000 students and an ocean of data. In the past, when there were no real solutions to analyze that much data, some of it was useless. Now, administrators are actually able to use analytics and data visualizations for this data to draw out patterns of students in the university operations, recruitment, and retention efforts. So there's data that's collected related to the education industry through online portals, through internet access, through high-speed connectivity to schools. We obviously have to be careful of data privacy and security, and all of the digitalized records of students. All of this data is collected and needs to be effectively used. Let's take a look at big data in government. So the FDA, for example, which runs under the jurisdiction of the federal government, leverages from the analysis of big data to discover patterns and associations in order to identify and examine the expected or unexpected occurrences of food-based infections. But the FDA is just one arm of the government. We also collect big data in government for agriculture, for natural disasters with FEMA, tax evaders, the IRS, health and welfare, building constructions, transportation, unemployment. All that data is collected. Let's look at the healthcare industry. So wearable devices and sensors have been introduced in the healthcare industry, which can provide real-time feed to the electronic health records of a patient. And Apple is one of those developers for the technology. You probably see, you have a health app if you have an iPhone. But Apple has come up with Apple Health Kit, Care Kit, and Research Kit. And the main goal is to empower the iPhone users to store and access their real-time health records on their phones. But how else is big data contributed into the healthcare industry? Well, historical patient data, geographical data, transaction data, and paying for your medical bills, purchasing, CRM data. Again, a lot of data collected. We need to make sure that we can effectively use it. Let's look at big data in the media and entertainment industry. Spotify, which I'm sure most of you use, uses big data analytics. It collects data from all its users around the globe and then uses the analyzed data to give informed music recommendations and suggestions to every individual user. Amazon Prime, which I'm sure most of you use, offers videos, music, and Kindle books in a one-stop shop, and it uses big data to give you also suggestions as well to other potential purchases. But if you can see here, all of these media and entertainment companies use big data at some point. Let's look at big data and weather patterns. IBM Deep Thunder is a research project by IBM which provides weather forecasting through high-performance computing of big data. IBM is also assisting Tokyo with the improved weather forecasting for natural disasters or predicting the probability of damaged power lines. So all the data that we're collecting on all the different weather patterns, monsoons, if we ever have them again here in Arizona, help us able to effectively forecast weather around the globe. Big data in the transportation industry. Uber generates and uses a huge amount of data regarding drivers, their vehicles, locations, every trip from every vehicle. And all this data is analyzed and then used to predict supply, demand, location of drivers, and fares that will be set up for every single trip. Also, as you're using any public transportation, if you're using any kind of a card, all the data is tracked and saved, and it allows municipalities to figure out the most effective routes. Airlines use it as well. Amtrak, trains use it. So big data is definitely important in the transportation industry. So let's talk about 3 different types of big data. So the main types of big data are what are known as structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. So structured data, which we'll go to in a second, represents about 5 to 10% of all the data. Semi-structured represents about 5 to 10% as well. But the most prevalent type of big data is known as unstructured data. So let's look at some definitions. Structured data is data that can be processed, stored, and retrieved in a fixed format. It's very organized, so it's very easy to use and interpret. Employee tables in a company database are structured, so anytime you use any SQL databases, Oracle databases, those are all types of structured data. Unstructured data, on the other hand, refers to data that lacks any specific form or structure whatsoever. So email is an example of unstructured data. It's free format, it's complete text, and it can be X number of characters long. So there's no limit to what you would expect if you're trying to interpret unstructured data. And then semi-structured data is a little bit of both. So it actually pertains to the data containing both formats, and it refers to the data that, although has not been classified under a particular repository, it contains some vital information or tags that segregate individual elements within the data. So tweets are actually an example of semi-structured data because there is a limited format, but it also is free format so that it's a little bit harder to read. So what are the advantages of big data? Now that we have a basic knowledge of what big data is. Well, one of the biggest advantages is what's known as predictive analytics, and that's what we do as data analysts. Big data analytics tools can predict outcomes accurately, thereby allowing businesses and organizations to make better decisions. Second is, by harnessing data from social media platforms using big data analytics, businesses around the world are streamlining their digital marketing strategies to enhance the overall customer experience. So they're using the big data in order to make the customer experience better. Big data combines relevant data from multiple sources to produce highly actionable insights. So for example, 43% of companies lack the necessary tools to filter out irrelevant data, which costs them millions of dollars. But big data tools can help reduce this, saving both time and money. Big data analytics can also help companies generate more sales leads, which would naturally mean a better boost in income and revenue. And finally, with big data insights, you can always stay a step ahead of your competitors. You can screen the market to know what kind of promotions and offers your rivals are providing, and then you can come up with better offers for your customers. So what this graphic shows is we've got this big data. It's kind of scattered, and what we do is we use analytics in order to kind of put the pieces together to then be able to make effective business decisions. So some of the big data tools that are common and are used are, for example, Hadoop. It's used to store, process, and analyze big data. Spark supports in-memory calculations. Storm effectively processes unbound streams of data. Cassandra provides high availability and scalability. And Mongo provides cross-platform capabilities. These are just some examples of the big data tools that we can use. If you're using AWS or Amazon Web Services, you can use some of these tools as well in order to process your big data. You can use Flume to collect data. Here's Cassandra again to store the data. Hadoop processes. And to visualize data, you can use SAS, you can use Tableau. I use those a lot. You can also use TIBCO, Spotfire. So hopefully from this video, what I've given you is an overall understanding of what big data is, why we use it, and some of the tools that we can use in order to analyze that big data.